Um, like Ginger said, my name is Karen, and I'm actually the supervisor for the pre-retirement counseling section at TCRS. I'm going to kind of walk you through TCRS, how it works, and what you need to do in order to retire. First, I'd like to start off talking about the stability of our retirement system. I know a lot of people have been worried about retirement, about the stability, about if it's going to last or if it's going to disappear, those types of things. But let me reassure you that TCRS is doing very, very well. We actually are a little over 90% funded, which is excellent. I know you've probably heard in the news some of these other states that have actually lost their retirements because they were way underfunded, but we are very well funded with about $34 billion in trust right now. So we're doing very, very well. We have an investments team that works 24 hours a day, watching the market, moving the money around, doing very, very well. As a matter of fact, we're probably in the top, well, I shouldn't say probably, we are in the top 10 in the U.S. as far as public pension plans go. We're 26th in the nation, and we're 77th in the world. So we're very, very proud of TCRS and what we provide. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that retirement's okay. You're not going to lose anything. You will have retirement when it is time for you to retire. So just rest assured. We cover about 230,000 active members right now across the state of Tennessee. And we cover, as of this past summer, about 117,000 retirees that we pay out monthly. So we cover a large amount of people across the state. So we not only cover county employees, we cover all state employees like myself. We cover higher education, we cover public K through 12, safety, utility districts, you name it, we pretty much cover it across the state. So we have a large population that we deal with on a daily basis. And we're always here if you have any questions or need anything. Please don't hesitate to call and ask the questions. We hate to hear those rumors go around and he said, she said, and then we have to dispel those rumors. So if you really do have a question, please don't hesitate to call and ask. We would appreciate it if you did. I'm going to kind of walk you through this booklet. This is our New Beginning booklet. Anything you need to know about TCRS and how to retire will be in this booklet. So I'm going to touch on it, everything in here. And if you have questions along the way, please feel free to interrupt me or raise your hand, and I will try to answer all questions. I'll stick around afterwards as well. So TCRS, what is TCRS? We are a defined benefit plan. And what that means is that your benefit is not based on any type of contributions or investments or anything like that. Your benefit is based on your 5 highest consecutive years of salary and your total years of service. We plug those into a formula, and that's what determines what you would receive monthly for the rest of your life. So we often get confused with retirement plans that are contribution-based, which would be like your 401ks, your 457s, your IRAs, those types of things, where you actually make the contribution and then the contribution is paid out to you, and then when the money is gone, it's gone. We don't work that way. So make sure that you understand that you will receive your benefit for life, and it has nothing to do with any contributions that you have made. If you've made contributions, those contributions are used to help to fund the benefit. They do not determine the amount. They just help to fund it. They help the county to fund it, basically. So I just want to make sure that you recognize the difference between a contribution plan and a benefit plan, because we get a lot of questions about why can't I take my money out? Why can't I take a hardship? Why can't I do this? And that's because we don't function that way, because that money is used to help to pay you, not to determine your benefit. Okay? So when you retire, I'm going to go to page 2 now, if you want to follow along. So when you retire, you have to meet certain qualifications in order to be eligible for retirement. There are 3 different scenarios that you would have to fit under in order to be eligible. The first scenario is service retirement, which means you are the age of 60 or older and have at least 5 years of service. Why do I say 5 years? Well, 5 years with TCRS means that you are vested. And vesting means that you are guaranteed a monthly benefit once you reach retirement age. So everybody in this room has to have 5 years of service to even be eligible for a benefit. So when you see the word vested, that's what that means. So once you hit the age of 60 and you have at least 5 years, you can retire with your full benefit based on your years and your salary. Or if you have 30 years, you can retire regardless of your age. So you could retire anytime after 30 and receive an unreduced benefit at that time. The next set of requirements would be early retirement. Early retirement means that you're 55 and you have at least 5 years of service. There is a reduction that comes along with this, and the closer you get to either age 60 or the closer you get to 30 years, that reduction becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. So the closer you are, the smaller that reduction. The further away you are, the bigger the reduction. And then we have 25-year early, which means you're under the age of 55, but you have 25 years of service. This one we normally try to stray away from, simply because you're not only reduced because you are under the age of 55, you're also reduced because you don't have the 30 years in. So you actually take a double reduction, which completely wipes your benefit out. So if we have that for individuals who have to retire. They may have reasons, family reasons, health reasons, whatever, that they have to retire. That's why that's there. But if you're a month away from being 55 years old, you need to hang out a month and wait till you're 55, because your benefit will go up significantly from what it would be if you didn't. So that is available, but you got to be careful with that one. It would have to be a pretty serious circumstance, I would think, to take that route if you were going to. And these reductions are permanent. So if you were to retire underneath either one of these that receive a reduction, that reduction is permanent forever. Okay, any questions about the requirements? No? Okay. Page 3 is about law enforcement, and we only have a few law enforcement here in the room. I'll talk to you guys separately if I can afterwards. So this doesn't really apply to you guys, so we'll go ahead and skip this page. All right, 4 and 5 talk about credible service. So you probably hear us talking about retirement credit, retirement service. You hear these lingo things that we say. By credible service, we mean the service that you receive for TCRS credit. So every day, every month you work, you get a month of retirement credit. Those months add up to your years of total credit. Well, there are different types of credit that you can also receive credit for that you may not be aware of. The first type would be refunded service, which would be like if you worked for an employer who was in TCRS and you left and you took out your money. Then you could pay back that money plus interest and essentially purchase that time back. Because once you take a refund, everything goes with it, including your service. So you're basically coming back into employment, starting all over again. So in order to get that back, you have to pay that money back in order to purchase those years. So that can be done. Once you purchase them, it's like you'd never take them out. So they'll be there reinstated just like they were always there. We also have military service that you could possibly receive credit for. This is kind of a weird one, simply because you cannot receive credit in any other retirement for that service if you want to receive it in TCRS. So if you're getting a military pension or some other type of pension where this service is included, we can't give you credit for it in TCRS. So you need to make sure that you're not getting any retirement for other than TCRS for this credit. But that's a possible thing that you could receive credit for. Other service would be like your probationary service. If you have a probationary time before you start in employment, you can receive credit for that. Usually that's a pretty cheap thing to get. If anybody needs to look into that, I do have the forms with me today if you would like to take one back with you and get that done. It's usually pretty cheap to get probationary service back. So,
It's based on the wages you make?
Yes, it's based on what you were making at the time, not on current wages. So you can receive those 6 months back if you have that. Also, sick leave. Sick leave is a very important way to receive extra service. So we say, use it, don't abuse it. Because sick leave can get you to many different things. If you're on the edge of 30 years and you've got enough time to cover those months that you're lacking, you're retiring with 30 years. You know, it can't get you to a specific date. A lot of times people will say, well, I just want to use my sick leave to get me to age 60. Well, can't do that. You only get the extra credit for it. So it can extend your time, it just can't get you to a date. So that's very important. And a lot of times people say, well, you know, we're not getting any money for sick leave, so what's the point in keeping it? Well, that's the point of keeping it, is that it allows you to retire earlier than you normally would if you didn't have it. So it can really help you. So we encourage people to keep sick leave and to be wise with using sick leave. Any questions about any type of prior service, refunded, probationary, military, sick leave? Sure. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Right. Any other questions about the prior service? No? All right, we'll move on. The next couple of pages, 6, 7, and 8, kind of show you a very simplified breakdown of the calculation that we go through in order to figure out those different types of retirement, whether it be service early or 25-year early. I usually don't go much into depth into these, simply because I believe it confuses you even more than you probably already are. So, but if you do have questions about this, I'll be glad to talk to you about it afterwards. But just know that, you know, this is a very simplified version. It's a little bit more in depth than this simple calculation, but kind of just gives you an idea. A lot of times people want to know, well, how is it calculated? So that's why we put that in the book. So, all right, so page 9. So like I said, when you retire, you've met those requirements to retire, and you're ready to go. So you're going to complete a retirement application, and on that application, you're going to pick a payment plan. So we've got 6 different payment plans that you can choose from. There's 2 up the top, your single life annuity plans that pay you the most, but they do not provide for a survivor. And then we've got 4 survivor plans at the bottom that do provide for your survivor. So when you retire, you're going to designate which one of these you want to take. Once you've designated that plan, that's what you get forever. Okay? So you've got the regular maximum plan, pretty self-explanatory, giving you the maximum benefit for you the remainder of your lifetime. Once you pass away, that monthly benefit will end. However, if there's anything left in your contributions that you had paid in, then your survivor would receive the remainder of that in a lump sum payment. Okay? Social Security leveling, I'm going to go over this one last because this one tends to confuse a lot of people. So I'm going to kind of go into that one a little bit in more detail. I'm going to jump down to the survivor options. We've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these survivor options are meant to pay you it says it's going to pay you a reduced retirement allowance, which is a fancy way of saying you're not going to get as much money as you would under the regular maximum plan. But if you pass away, your beneficiary is going to receive a monthly check for the remainder of their lifetime. So we're paying your life, and then we're turning around and paying the life of your survivor. So under option 1, you can see it says 100%. That's because you're going to receive an amount, you pass away, the survivor receives the same exact amount for the remainder of their lifetime. Option 2, you can say it says 50%. So you're going to receive an amount, you pass away, the survivor is only going to receive half of that benefit. And you would be receiving a little bit more on the front end in order just to provide them half. So it's going to be different. The amounts will be different between 1 and 2. You'll see a difference there. 3 and 4 are what we call the pop-ups. And they work the same way as 1 and 2, where either they're going to receive 100% of the benefit or they're going to receive 50% of the benefit. But the difference between these two and the first two is that with 3 and 4, if you were to outlive your beneficiary, then instead of paying you this reduced amount, we're going to revert you back to the regular maximum plan for the remainder of your lifetime. So it kind of is almost kind of like almost kind of like an insurance policy a little bit. So you're taking this reduced benefit in the beginning, you live longer, you get to go back to the maximum amount after the death of your beneficiary. Any questions about those plans? Okay. Now we're going to go on to leveling. So if you turn to page 11, I'm going to kind of walk you through this example because I think walking through this and seeing the numbers helps to kind of solidify it in the mind. So we're looking at the assumptions up here in the right-hand corner. This member is 55 years old. This member has 30 years of service. So they've got 30 years of service. They're retiring with service retirement, regardless of their age. So they're getting a full benefit. That benefit from TCRS, you can see it says it's $1968. And their benefit from Social Security at 62 is $800. So the way Social Security leveling works is that we're going to pay you this maximum benefit, and then based on your age at retirement, we're going to give you a added benefit, a supplement, to supplement your income until you reach Social Security age. Now, we'll put a disclaimer on this option. You have to even be eligible for this, you have to be under the age of 61 and a half. If you're already over 61 and a half, this no longer applies to you. This is meant for individuals who are very young when they retire, or individuals, bluntly, who probably won't see Social Security, who may have a terminal illness or something where they probably will not live long enough to see Social Security or live long enough to even see a benefit from Social Security as far as living a long life. So individuals that don't meet those criteria probably would want to look at another option. So looking at this example, we can see that at age 55, this person's going to get 0.52 or 52% of that $800 that we're going to give them up front. So we're going to take that $800 and we're going to multiply that times that factor, 52%. So that's $417 that we're going to pay extra to this person on top of their regular benefit of $1968, which increases their benefit to $2385. So this person would draw $2385 a month, every month, until they reach the age of 62. At 62, they're eligible to get that $800 from Social Security. So what do? We have to subtract $800 from their benefit. So that drops they're still going to get TCRS. It's just going to be reduced from that point forward, and it's going to be $1585. Well, you're still going to get that money from Social Security. You're still going to get that $800. So you add that back to that $1,585 that you're getting from us, and it equals the $2,385. So it's leveling. You're staying the same. You're never changing. So if you're wanting to look on the devil's advocate side of that, because everybody wants to know what's the pros and cons of Social Security leveling. Well, the cons would be you're going to be reduced. It's a permanent reduction. You're not going to see any more money. With the exception of cost of living raises that you would receive, you're staying the same forever. Also, it doesn't leave a survivor anything. So if you're wanting to leave your survivor a benefit, Social Security leveling doesn't work that way. You don't receive a survivor benefit with that. The pros, well, you get this extra money up front to do whatever you need to do with it. Some people like to do it because they want to pay their house off, or they want to pay bills off or something before then they don't have to worry about it anymore. Once they reach 62, they have everything paid off. Like I said, some people are ill and they want to get the most money that they can right now to live the rest of their life comfortably. Some people are very young when they retire because they are not able to return to work, or they're not able to work on a daily basis. So they would need this extra money to supplement them in another way besides getting another job would. So there's different scenarios where this plan is very nice for people, but if you're just wanting it because it gives you extra money, probably not a wise decision. If you're looking at the maximum plan for this person, 1968, if this person just took the 1968 and waited and got that $800 on top of that, they'd be getting, what is that, $2,700 a month? So you're getting $2,300 or $2,700. So do you need the money now, or can you wait and get it later for the remainder of your lifetime? That's the decision you're making when you take leveling. So you have to really think about it. And this one we really want to make sure everybody understands. If you're on the fence about this option, we really want you to understand how it works, what you're doing, because we get phone calls every day. People, very angry because we never told them that their benefit would be reduced, and we never told them this, and we never told them that. Well, you filled out the application. There's a description on the application that explains it. You check that box and you signed it. We can't, if you didn't contact us and ask us the questions, there's nothing we can do about that. So the other con to that is Social Security going to be around? Who knows? Are we even going to get as much as what they say we're going to get? Who knows? So you could tell us, this person can say, okay, I'm going to get $800 a month, but are they actually going to get $800 a month when they reach that age? And we can't adjust that. So if you tell us an amount in the beginning and say this person only got 500 instead of 800, we still reduce it by 800. We can't adjust it. So you got to really think about it. So if you know someone or you yourself are thinking about it, just really consider all of those scenarios before you do choose that option. Because we want you to do what's best for you. We can't tell you if it's best for you. We can't tell you if any of these options are best for you. All we can do is give you the tools, and you have to do the rest. So any questions about any of the options, about leveling, anything? Any questions, concerns? No? Am I doing that good? Are y'all asleep already? All right. The next page, page 12, it gives you percentages underneath each one of these options, the survivor options. The survivor options are based on age. So with these, you kind of have to be careful as well. Because if you're wanting to provide for a survivor, you're wanting to take that lesser benefit in order to do that, you've got to be careful about the age of your beneficiary, because that's going to affect your benefit as well. So if you name an individual who is the same age as you you can probably see on here that the percentages are a little bit higher. If you name someone who's significantly younger than you, guess what? We got to take more money from your benefit to pay them for the remainder of their lifetime. Because we're paying 2 lifetimes, remember, 2 lifetimes. So if you're 55, or if you're 60 when you retire, and you name a 20-year-old, sure. You know, so, I mean, you've got to really be careful. Because a lot of times people, you know, if they're single, they want to name a child, you know, or something like that, which it happens. I mean, we have individuals who have children who are disabled or something, and they want them to be taken care of. It does happen. There are scenarios where that happens. But you just want to make sure that you do realize that it's going to really affect what you're getting in order to provide for that younger person. So do make sure that you're considering age when you're considering those types of options as well. The maximum plan or the leveling plan, it doesn't matter, because they're only going to get the remaining balance of your contributions. They're not going to get a monthly benefit, so their age wouldn't matter for those benefits.
So always, like say I put in 10,000 and I'm only drawing 5,000 out. They will always be able to draw the rest.
Yes. Yes. That is your money that you've contributed. That is not our money. That is not the state's money. We do not keep that money. It goes to someone. Just the money you put in. No employer contributions. Just your money, plus the interest that it's earned during the time it's been there. Okay. All right. Page 13 talks about disability benefits. We do offer disability benefits for our members. If you do not meet any of the service retirement requirements. So you have to be under the age of 60, and you can't have 30 years of service. And the reason that is because disability is reduced. So we're not going to pay you a reduced benefit when you're eligible to get a higher one. You're better off getting the higher one. Now, some people think that they have to have the disability title, that they're under disability. Not really. But it's very similar to Social Security disability in the fact that, you know, you go through the same process, you fill out the forms, you get the medical records, it goes to a panel, they make the determination, and we pay you. I mean, it's kind of the same process. Doesn't take a year like Social Security does. You don't get denied the first time like Social Security does. But it is it's a more of a lengthy process than just retiring under regular retirement. So just be aware of that. There's 3 different kinds here, pretty self-explanatory: inactive, accidental, ordinary. You can kind of read about those. And if you ever receive an injury or get hurt or something, you can see where you would fall underneath one of these. We have 2 wonderful disability counselors that handle the whole entire state of Tennessee. 2. Very wonderful ladies, and they will do whatever they can. If you do have more further in-depth questions than I can answer, they will be able to answer those for you about the steps you need to take and those types of things. So I encourage you to call them if you do have questions about disability. They are very, very knowledgeable, and they can walk you through the entire thing. Okay. The next 2 pages are about insurance. That doesn't apply to you, so we're going to skip that. Page 16 talks about COLA. And I'm not talking about Coca-Cola. I'm talking about cost of living adjustment. So, cost of living adjustment. Retirees get cost of living even when the state doesn't get one, the county doesn't get one. Very lucky individuals. Sometimes I wish I was a retiree so I could get a raise, because we never get raises. But in order to be eligible for a cost of living, you have to be retired 12 full months prior to July 1. So everybody wants to know, what's the magic date of retirement? Well, there really isn't one, but if there is one, it would be June 30th for that fact. So if you're retired June 30th, the next year, As of July 1, you'll be retired a full year. You'll be eligible for that cost of living that year. You retire after July 1, say you retire the 5th of July. You have such a fun time on the 4th, and you just say, forget it, I'm going out on the 5th. You go around the clock. You get back to July 1, you're 5 days short of being retired a year. So guess what? Got to wait a whole another year to get a cost of living. So if there was a magic day, June 30th would be it. And that's the end of the fiscal year. A lot of people like to go at the end. We do everything by fiscal year. So a lot of people like to do the end of the fiscal year for budgetary, for their budget reasons or whatever. But that would be the date that you'd be looking at if you want to be eligible the next year. Now, COLA is never guaranteed. It's based on the economy. It can be anywhere from 1% to 3%. It's voted on by legislature. They make that decision, and we find out in January of every year usually what it's going to be. So up until 2009, I'm doing pretty good, getting 3% pretty much every year. 2009, they got 0, because that's when everything fell apart. And then 2010, they got a very generous 2.7, which we thought was a little high. We didn't think the economy had gone back that far, but that's what they got. And then 2011, they got 1.5. So they got a really nice one, and then they didn't get such a nice one the year after that. But this year, they got 3. So we're hoping that that trend continues. Most of the years before 2009, it was 3 to begin with. So we're hoping that everything kind of comes back and they continue to get that 3%. But unfortunately, we don't have control over that. I think we would give everybody 3% if we could. But any questions about COLA? No? Next page. Federal income tax. Oh, everybody goes, oh, federal income tax. Yes. You do have to pay tax on your monthly benefit. I'm sorry. Now, there may be times in the past where you may have contributed money that had already been taxed. We had this question yesterday. If you've already been taxed on a portion of your contributions, you will not be double taxed, ever. So what we do, if you can look at the bottom of this page, our payroll department, before we pay you, they use this formula to determine if there's any tax-free portion. And then if there is, then there will be several months that you may go where your check doesn't have any tax withheld. And then once we go through that post-tax money, then we'll start going through the pre-tax, and that's when you'll be seeing the taxable portion being removed from the check. So you will never be double taxed on anything that has been taxed before, ever. And this is your decision, having tax withheld, however you want us to do that. When you fill the application out, you're going to fill it out. There's a section on the application that you fill out, and you tell us how you wish us to do that. It's just like a mini little W-2 form that you're filling out on the application. So we do that exactly how you wish us to do that. And you can change that anytime. And we get a lot of changes come tax time. A lot of changes. So you can change that anytime. We have people that change it every year. So it's W-4P, yes, if you change it after you're retired. Yeah. Any questions about tax? All right. Page 18 talks about returning to service. So a lot of times people retire and they go home and they're home for a few weeks and then they say, oh, I'm bored. I don't have anything to do. So what am I going to do? I'm going to return back to work, right? Nobody's like, nah, I'm never going to do that. Never going to do that. You never know. You never know. We have some retirees who think they're so excited to retire, and the first couple of weeks they travel and they do all the fun stuff, and then they're like, I don't have anything to do. I don't have anything to do. So you can return to work if you needed to. If you came back to work for the county or or any other TCRS participating employer, you could. But you're going to be limited to how much you can work and how much you can earn. We call this temporary employment, which would allow you to come back for 120 days in a year and earn up to 63% of your salary that you were making when you retired. Now, 120 days roughly is about 6 months. So you can work that however you want within that year period. The year starts when you start. So if you started today, you'd have 12 months from today to work that 120 days. You can do it however you want, as long as you don't go over that limitation. If you work a job where you're only working a couple hours a day, then we wouldn't want you to use a whole entire day for that. So instead of doing 120 days, you could do 900 hours. 900. So when we're talking about the 120 days, we're talking about full-time days. We're talking about whatever your 7.5-hour day, 8-hour day, whatever you work, that would be what we consider a day. If you're not doing that, then you would probably want to go by hours and keep up with it that way. Any questions? Oh, and also, if you go to work for someone else, you went down to Walmart or wherever, you could do that as much as you wanted because they have nothing to do with us. They're not affiliated with the state. So you could do, as long as they're in the private sector, you could do whatever you wanted as far as TCRS is concerned. Social Security, on the other hand, if you're drawing Social Security and you go to work in the private sector, they're going to have their own limitation on how much you can earn and not affect your Social Security. So you would want to make sure that you're staying within their limitation. But the time that you work under this temporary employment does not count towards that limitation with Social Security. So you're not even having Social Security withheld out of this money that you're getting for this 120 days. So you could do the 120 days and work another job and still stay under their limitation as well, if you need to. All right. Well, and then the next couple of pages we've got are the retirement checklist on 20, 21, and 22. If you're kind of on the fence about retirement, you may be thinking about it. It may not be too close, but close enough to where you're starting to plan. We have this checklist that I think is really, really helpful. It's something you can kind of go through and look at things that you would need, that we think that you would need to consider when you're thinking about retirement. There's probably things on here that you would never even think about when you're considering retirement. We would probably suggest about a year to 6 months before you actually retire, probably giving us a call, letting us run some numbers for you, which we can do. We can't do estimates over the phone, but we can take your information over the phone and mail them to you, email them to you, fax them to you, however you want us to get it to you. We can do that. Or you're more than welcome to make an appointment and drive to Nashville to sit down with one of the counselors and have an individual counseling session with one of the counselors, and they can do all of that for you while you're there, answer any of your questions, deal with any of your concerns, walk you through it. And, I think a lot of people like that. They like to do face-to-face interaction. I think it makes a lot of people feel better about it. They like to hear it from us instead of, trying to figure all of it out for themselves. I think it makes a lot of people feel a little bit more better, a little bit more secure about retirement. So we do offer that. I'm going to get to it. So about a year to 6 months is probably when you would want to start doing that process. Start doing either coming to see us or start the estimate process. Let us do some numbers for you. 3 months prior to retirement is when you want to fill out your application, get that submitted to us. And I say that because everybody's like, well, 3 months, it seems to be a lot. Well, when you've got, like we did this summer, when you've got over 8,000 retirees this summer, the earlier the better. Because let me tell you, it went like this, and it crept. Because, we have specialists that work the benefits, and then it has to go through an audit process. And everybody thinks that we have staff of hundreds of people. We have 10 specialists that work benefits on a daily basis for the entire state. We have 3 auditors that audit files. So you can imagine, we're getting hundreds of applications in a day, hundreds. And they work them, and then it bottlenecks into the audit process. And they work their fingers to the bone. Believe me. We get a lot of overtime. A lot of overtime. We only have 6 counselors that cover the entire state. So we're very busy as well. We're out doing presentations like this on a daily basis. I had to come do these today because we already had 2 counselors out doing presentations, and it's easier for me to go than lose another counselor out of the office. So that's why I was, got to come to this wonderful city and do this presentation for you. But we do recommend if you want to come to see us, making an appointment for that reason, to make sure somebody's available to see you. We will see you as a walk-in, but we can't guarantee that we might say, go across the street and get you a cup of coffee. Go to Dunkin' Donuts, it's right across the street. Starbucks, right across the street. But making an appointment would be better if you could. Let's see. Numbers, page 23. Sure. Yes. The 150-day mark is, by law, we are only allowed to pay you back up to 150 days of back pay. So if you were to stop employment today, but not apply for retirement until 6 months later, then we can only back pay you for 5 months. So you would lose a month of retirement pay. 150 days is 5 months. So that's as far back as we can go. So we have individuals who may resign and decide to defer retirement to a later time, and then they forget about it and they don't apply for it. And then a year later they say, "Oh, I have retirement. I'm going to apply for that now." Well, they've lost 7 months of retirement pay that we can't pay back. So that's why you need to apply within 150 days of the date you leave in order not to lose any retirement money. Good question. All right, page 23 gives you all of our contact information. At the top, that's our address. Below the address is our internet website. Our website's, we've revamped that a little bit, make it a little bit more user-friendly. All of the forms are on the website. This booklet is on the website. Anything you need to know is on the website. We do have a calculator on the website. You can go on, plug in your numbers, do a quickie estimate for yourself. If you're curious, you can change the date and look at different dates and play around with it. It's a very good tool to use if you're curious. And then we have the different numbers for the different departments. First number there is counseling, which is my department. So if you want to call and make an appointment, you want to call and request an estimate, call with just general questions about retirement, then and also disability, you would give us a call at that number. Also, we have the counseling email. If you just have general questions that you just want to ask and don't really care who answers it, you can email the counseling email. I do know those get answered because I'm the one that answers them. So, so if you do email that email, I'll answer your question for you. The member services, these people are the ones that actually take care of you after you retire. So they're the ones that work your benefits. They're the ones that deal with prior service issues if you want to purchase prior service. They're the ones that deal with anything basically after you've gone through the process, turned in your application. They're kind of taking over from there. And then we have our financial department that deal with pretty much your money. Anything, your direct deposit, your withholding, if you're taking a refund, any of those things where we're actually handling money, that's what they're doing. So if you have any problems with those types of things, then they're the ones that would help you with that. We also have the toll-free number there. If you want to call toll-free, it'll bring you up a menu. There's about 7 choices on the menu. Most people make it through option 3, and then they just press 1, which is counseling. And then we get to transfer you. Counseling we're the default for everything. So, whatever. We don't mind. But there is a menu that should address all of if you just listen to it, you should be able to hear which one you want, but that's okay. We can transfer you. And then there's some other numbers down here, which don't necessarily apply to you guys. Most of these numbers down at the bottom are are more geared towards state employees. So those numbers you probably won't even have to pay attention to. The next couple of pages are fluff. I just like to call it fluff. Definitions. You've got the schedule of benefit scale things here, which can be misleading. So you would need to make sure that when you look at this, it is giving you a general ballpark idea of where your monthly benefit would be. This is not what your benefit will be. A lot of people look at this and they say, oh, well, my benefit's going to be this amount. No. This is just giving you a ballpark. So when you're looking at this, don't think that this is what it's going to be. Just know that this is a ballpark figure of what you're looking at. Because there's so many more things that go into the calculation to actually figure up the amount. So don't take this as set in stone. Just take it as a tool to use to get an idea. All right. The next couple of pages after that are directions to Nashville, to our office. Traffic is horrible. Parking's worse. You better have some moolah when you come because parking is expensive. Everybody's like, where do you park? Well, we park about half a mile down the road. And, we get to park for free, but we have to it's so far we have to take a shuttle. Or you're going to hike it up a hill about half a mile. So, not real convenient, but it's free. Can't complain. But we do have parking garages and things around the building within walking distance. But you have to be careful because we have this one parking lot that's directly across the street, and everybody wants to park there because all you have to do is cross the street and you're right there. The guy charges whatever he feels like on any given day. One day it's $10 for an hour. The next day it's $20 for an hour. The day after that it's $15 for an hour. So just giving you a little warning. You're paying for the convenience. You're definitely paying for the convenience. But there is a parking garage that's diagonally across the street from us where it's $5 for 2 hours. So we definitely recommend parking there. When you meet with us, you will not be there for an hour. We schedule you for an hour. You'll be there for 30, 45 minutes tops. So unless you just have a lot of questions or unless you just want to sit and visit, and we can do that too. All right. And like Ginger mentioned, there are 2 forms in the back of the booklet. Beneficiary information. Please make sure your beneficiary information is up to date. Hopefully you guys should be receiving annual statements pretty soon, hopefully, if you haven't already. Make sure your beneficiary information on your annual statement is correct. We want to have who you want in the system to be correct. Because if you were to pass away today, that's the person that's going to be getting your benefit. So if that's not who you want, then we need to get that changed immediately. This is the form to do that, the active change of beneficiary form. So if you need to make any changes on that, fill this form out. You can mail it back to us at the address above. Or if you want me to take it back with me today, I can do that as well. Also, there is an estimate request form in the back of the booklet. So if you'd like to request an estimate later on, you can feel free to fill this little form out. mail it in to us, we can take that request that way, or I can take it back with me today. If you want to fill it out, I can take it with me today. Like I said, you can request estimates over the phone. We just really need, there's certain information that we need, however. We're going to need, of course, your social to look you up, and sick leave. We would need to know your sick leave balance and date of retirement that you're looking at. So those are the top 3 things that we would need if you want to do that over the phone. We're coming up with a new computer system that we're looking forward to that should be in effect hopefully within about a year and a half, where you'll actually be able to do everything online. We are way beyond, way not in the 21st century, but we're getting there. So you will no longer have to fill out any kind of forms. It's going to be glorious, a glorious day, no more paper. Because we get this much paper a day. But you'll be able to do everything online. You'll be able to change your address, your phone numbers, you'll be able to look at your payment history when you retire. You'll be able to change your direct deposit online, your beneficiary online. You'll be able to look at everything online. And it's going to be so much easier for you guys to access your own accounts, look at what's been reported to us from the employer, your salary information, your service information, everything. It's going to be very, very nice. And we're very happy about it because that's going to cut down a lot on, we're going to be able to come out and do more of this because of that. So we're looking forward to being able to do more education rather than sitting in the office and answering those calls that you could so easily take care of yourself. So we're looking forward to that. That'll be coming. You'll be hearing more about that. You'll be getting information about that fairly soon. So, any other questions? No? I know I didn't do that good. All right, well, I will stick around for a while, and if you guys want to come ask any individual, I have cards too, if anybody wants a card, please feel free.